everyone, this is Sowmya. Welcome to my YouTube channel. As you all know, we are discussing world climate in geography in our videos. So in the previous videos, we have discussed about a few type of world climates which are present from 0 to 30 degrees, and in this video we will be discussing the climates which are present from 30 to 45 degrees. So if you are new to this video, please go and watch my previous videos where we have discussed about hot wet equatorial climate, marine type of climate, tropical grasslands and tropical deserts. And in this video we will be discussing about the climates which are present from 30 to 45, that is China, Gulf and Natal type of climate. And we have temperate grasslands, and on the western side we have Mediterranean type of climate. So we'll be discussing these three topics in today's video. So without any delay, let's get into the video. So 30 to 45 degrees north and south. So here usually first from 0 to 30 degrees, this region we usually call it as tropics region, right? Tropical region from 0 to 30 degrees. So above 30 degrees, from 30 to 60 degrees, we usually call it as temperate region. From 30 to 60 degrees, we usually call this region as temperate region. Temperate region, because as it is closer to the poles, we call this region as temperate region. So now let me tell you one thing. To 60 degrees, right? This type of climate is called as temperate climate. From 30 to 60 degrees, we have temperate climate. In this, we have two divisions. From 30 to 45 degrees, we call it as warm temperate climate. Warm temperate. And 45 to 60 degrees, we call it as cold temperate climate. So within 30 to 60 degrees north-south, we have two divisions. From 30 to 45, we call it as warm temperate, and 45 to 60, we call it as cold temperate. So today we will be discussing only this part, 30 to 45, that is warm temperate. So in this warm temperate, we have three types of climates. As we all discussed in the previous video, that we have to move from east to west on the continents, the climate will be changing. So from 30 to 45, on the eastern side, you have China, Gulf, Natal type of climate. And on the western sides, you have temperate grasslands. I mean, in between the continental region, you have temperate grasslands. And on the western side, you have Mediterranean type of climate. Okay. Now, let's discuss about the first climate, that is China, Gulf or Natal type of climate. So, let's start with China, Gulf or Natal type of climate. So, in this type of climate, we have to first discuss about the regions which comes under this type of climate, right? So, what kind of regions comes? So once open your atlas, I will show you, so it will be very easy. In Australia, the Sydney region of Australia. In Asia, you see China, Japan and Korea region. And in Africa, you have Durban region. In South America, you have Uruguay. And in North America, the Gulf states. So these regions comes under China, Gulf or Natal type of climate, right? So the regions is completed, and the next characteristic we have to discuss is about rainfall. Alright? So we have to discuss about rainfall. So when you consider this region lies from 30 to 45 degrees, right? 30 to 45 degrees. So usually 30 to 45 degrees region comes under the influence of westerlies. So westerlies become offshore to these regions. In this type of climate, westerlies become offshore. So in winter you usually see no rainfall. But when it is summer, we all know that there is shift of ITCZ. There is shift of ITCZ during summer towards the north. So this 30 to 45 degrees comes under the influence of trade winds during summer, right? When it comes to trade winds blow in northeast direction. So these regions become onshore to trade winds. So you can observe summer rainfall. So summer rainfall and no rainfall. In winter you don't see rainfall, because in winter it comes under influence of westerlies, and westerlies become offshore to this region. Okay, so this is about rainfall. And the second characteristic we have to discuss is about vegetation. So when it comes to vegetation, there is rainfall during summer, and in winters there is no rainfall. So vegetation is evergreen to deciduous. So it changes, like evergreen to deciduous forest can be seen. And our third characteristic is temperature. So when it comes to temperature, temperature. So when it comes to temperature, as we all know, these regions have the influence of oceanic character. So wherever the regions which have the influence of oceanic character, the annual and diurnal range will be less. So when it comes to temperature, the annual range and the diurnal range both are less because of influence of oceanic character. Okay, completed. And then our fourth characteristic we have to discuss is about human activities. What human activities takes place in these regions? We have summer rainfall. So it is useful for paddy cultivation. So we can see paddy cultivation, tea cultivation. So main dominance of agriculture, especially paddy and tea, can be observed. This is a main human activity. Yeah, and we have completed all the four characteristics, and the last one we have to talk about is population. So when you talk about population, we all know there is a cultivation of paddy, intensive cultivation of paddy. So and the oceanic character influence, less annual and diurnal range. So all these regions are very conducive for living. So we have high density of population. High density of population can be seen in these regions. So this is about China, Gulf and Natal, and then we have to move to second type of climate, that is temperate grasslands. Yeah, so the type of climate which we have to discuss in this video is temperate grasslands. So in temperate grasslands we have to first learn about the regions where this is present. In the previous video, as we have discussed, when we are talking about tropical grasslands, we have seen that these tropical grasslands had different names in different continents, right? So same for temperate grasslands also, in different continents these grasslands have unique names. So we'll learn about those regions. So first, when it comes to North America, these grasslands in USA these grasslands are called as prairies. These grasslands are called as prairies in USA. So in South America, we all know that tropical grasslands are present on the northern side, right? So now the temperate grasslands are present on the southern side. So the temperate grasslands are called as pampas in South America. In Africa, the temperate grasslands are called as high velds. And here you can see in the atlas also high veld. So high velds. And in Australia, they are called as downs. And New Zealand, they are called as canterburies. And Eurasia, the most famous, I think this everyone knows. In Eurasia, they are called as steppes. So these are the names for temperate grasslands in various continents, right? So I think there is no need to write. You all can remember what I have said. And so this is about the regions and the type of grasslands which are present across the globe in this region, temperate grasslands, right? So now we'll move into rainfall characteristic. So rainfall. So what about rainfall? So as these usually these areas comes under the continental character, you usually see that there is less rainfall in these regions, right? Same as tropical grasslands, you usually observe less rainfall in these regions. And next, when it comes to vegetation, we all know vegetation, it is in the name itself, temperate grasslands. So the vegetation is grasses. So as we have discussed in tropical grasslands, grasses with short trees presence we have seen, but in temperate grasslands dominance of grass is there. Dominance of grass and very few trees compared to tropical grasslands. So that is about vegetation. And when it comes to grasses, so when it comes to grasses, the temperate grasslands grass is short but they are sweeter. Short grasses but they are sweeter. But when we have discussed about tropical grasslands, the grasses are tall but they are less sweeter. So remember that. And after vegetation, we have to discuss about temperature. We all know when we have discussed rainfall, I said that these region has continental nature. So whenever there is continental nature, we have high annual and diurnal range. So annual range and diurnal range both are high. Okay. So as there is dominance, and here we have to talk about human activities. So grasslands region. So what might be the human activities? Whenever the grasslands are present, the major human activity will be livestock ranching. But if you observe tropical grasslands, the regions of tropical grasslands are usually not much developed countries, but the regions of temperate grasslands are the developed countries. So when we talk about Eurasia, when we talk about Australian downs, when we talk about USA prairies, all these are rich, all these are developed regions. So simply instead of livestock ranching is seen. That means the cattle rearing or the activity which is going on, it goes on in thousands of acres of area. Even when we talk about grasslands also, for thousands of acres of area, these grasslands are grown. So maize cultivation is seen, wheat granaries are observed in USA. If you know, there is a corn belt of USA. So wheat granaries, corn, maize cultivation is majorly observed in these type of regions. This is about the human activity in this region. And when we talk about population, we already know wherever in grassland regions the population is not highly dense, but the density of population is less in these regions. So that is about the population, and that's all about the temperate grasslands. Let us move into the next type of climate, that is we are left out with Mediterranean type of climate on the western margin of the continent from 30 to 45. We'll discuss about Mediterranean. The third type of climate in our discussion is Mediterranean type of climate on the western margin of the continents. So let's see the regions where this type of climate is present. So in North America you see Californian region, in South America you have Central Chile region, in Africa we see Cape Town region, and in Australia we see Perth and Adelaide regions. In Asia and Europe, the areas around the Mediterranean Sea comes under the influence of Mediterranean type of climate. So these are the regions, and let's talk about the first characteristic, that is rainfall. So you all know that 30 to 45 degrees comes under the influence of westerlies, right? So 30 to 45 degrees comes under the influence of westerlies. So westerlies become onshore trade winds. Westerlies become onshore to these regions. So you observe winter rainfall. But during summer, we all know that shift of ITCZ, so the shift of pressure belts. So these regions comes under the influence of trade winds during summer, right? So trade winds become offshore to these regions. So in summer you see no rainfall, but in winter there is rainfall because of onshore westerlies. Onshore influence of westerlies, we can observe winter rainfall. We can observe winter rainfall because of onshore westerlies, and in summer trade winds become offshore. So that is about rainfall, and let's move into the second characteristic, that is vegetation. So when we talk about vegetation, we usually observe evergreen to deciduous forest. So evergreen to deciduous forest is observed. These kind of vegetation is observed here. And that's all about vegetation, no new characteristics of vegetation. And let's move into the third characteristic, that is temperature. The third characteristic, that is temperature. What do you feel, what kind of temperature can be seen here? We all know that almost these regions like California, Central Chile, these regions around Mediterranean Sea, we all know that these regions have some kind of oceanic influence, right? So we see diurnal range and annual range is less, not so high. The diurnal and annual range is less. So that's about temperature. So the next characteristic we have to discuss is about human activities. So we all know Mediterranean type of climate has winter rainfall. So winter rainfall is very helpful in viticulture. So what is viticulture? Viticulture is nothing but the growth of citrus fruits. So the cultivation of citrus fruits. The cultivation of citrus fruits is very famous in this type of climate because of especially winter rainfall, and also the winter rainfall is very suitable for wheat cultivation. So wheat cultivation, citrus fruits cultivation, so this is the main human activity in this type of climate. And the last point we have to discuss in this type of climate is about population. We all know that Mediterranean type of climate is like a moderate kind of climate. So we usually observe high density of population in this region. So the density of population is highest in this region because of a moderate type of climate, not so cool and not so hot. Moderate kind and high density of population is observed. So that's all about the Mediterranean type of climate. So I hope you understood this lecture. In this lecture we have discussed about the three type of climate which is present from 30 to 45. 30 to 45 degrees north and south is called as warm temperate region, and we have discussed three types of climates which are present in this region, that is on the eastern side China, Gulf and Natal type, and in the continental regions, inside the continental regions we have observed about temperate grasslands, and on the western margins we have observed Mediterranean type of climate. So that's about the climate from 30 to 45. Hope you all understood this lecture and it is very useful for you. So if you all like my teaching and if you are understanding the concepts which I am explaining, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.